This kid's camera, called the Kinder camera, has two common charging problems. The first is using the wrong cable to charge it. The second is if, unfortunately, the battery dies. In this video, I'll show you which cable to use, and I'll show you how to change the battery. This version of the camera uses a USB-C connector to charge the camera, but it does not accept a standard USB-C cable. For example, this is the cable that I can use to charge my phone or my laptop, and if I plug it in, it does not charge at all. So what's the problem? The problem is that it does not actually follow the USB-C protocol. Let's see how to fix this. The fix, fortunately, is quite easy. You have to use the USB-C or fake USB-C charging cable that came with the camera. This one goes from a USB-A, that's the square kind of rectangular one, and it uses a USB-C connector, but it doesn't follow the right protocol. So let's plug that in and see how it works. I plugged it into my battery pack here, and then here's the other end of the cable. Plug that in, and immediately we see the charge light turns on, and you can see it's filling up the battery with pure electrons. If you've used the right charging cable, the one that came with the camera, and it still doesn't charge, the problem might be that the battery's dead. And if it is, all you need are a few simple tools and a replacement battery. The battery is listed as a 603040 battery. It says that on the battery. We'll see in a second when we open up the camera, and you can order one of these on just about any electronics website, or I got this one from Amazon for about $10. The only tools you need are a small Phillips head, and a pair of pliers is helpful but not necessary. The first step is to take out these 4 screws using the screwdriver. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Gently pry apart the front and the back of the camera. There are some wires holding it together. We're just going to leave those all exactly where they are, but just be careful not to damage any of them. This gray part here is the battery, and this here is where it says the 603040. That's how I found out the part number to look up on Amazon. Now, taking out the battery is a little bit finicky. This red and black cable is the power cord, and it goes into this connector here. Now, this one has a tiny little bit of glue on it, so I'm going to use these pliers, needle nose pliers help, and really gently pry that out, making sure not to rip up the circuit board. All right, so that's the little connector. And then the battery itself is glued on to this piece of foam here. And so I'm just going to very gently pry it off. You can hear the tape coming off. And there is the old battery. This is the new battery that I bought. I haven't even opened it up yet, so hopefully it's the right size. There it is. And you can also, one thing that I read online is that, here's the old battery. It's a little hard to tell, but you can see there's a minus and the plus. You can see the black is minus, red is plus. Make sure that on the new battery, it's the same way. So here again, we see minus and plus, the 603040. The black connects to the minus, and the red connects to the plus. And everything else now is just do the opposite of what we just did. So first we have this connector, and of course it's the wrong connector. This is a much larger connector, so hold on. Let's do a little bit of work here and swap out the connectors. All right, so apparently we need to do this little detour. The old cable had this much smaller connector. The new one has the same type of connector, but it is significantly larger. So I need to cut off the connector from the old one. We'll snip that right about in the middle. Put the old battery aside, and then I'm going to go to the new battery, and again, cut it at right about the middle and snip that off. Next is clipping off just a little bit of the insulation. So we'll get a little bit of that one. Oh boy, this is a lot finickier than I thought. I'll see if I got enough of the insulation off or if I have to go back and trim a little more. We'll see. Oh man, these cables are so thin. Yep, cable's actually too thin for this, so I'll just do it the old-fashioned way. There's one. And there's two. All right, everything is stripped, and now we get the fun part of trying to solder these together. But first, before we forget, I have to get the heat shrink on. If you don't put the heat shrink on, you will not get the heat shrink on at all. For the soldering, it's quite simply red to red and black to black. And this is quite finicky because everything's so small. And I'm not good at soldering. All right. That went surprisingly well. And then we're going to do black to black. All right. I wouldn't say I did a particularly good job on that, but I think for this little camera, good enough is good enough. And now we get the heat shrink. But you know what? Because I don't want any sharp corners poking through the heat shrink and shorting out the battery. All right, let's do one at a time. And for the heat shrink, I'm just going to use the soldering iron again. It's really all it takes is heat. Just kind of rubbing the iron on the side. You kind of see it shrink. Please make sure you're not melting it. And again, for this kind of device, good enough is good enough. All right, I think that one's pretty good. The black wire. I think if you use a heat gun, it works a little bit better, but I don't have one. All right, the new battery connector is on. Well, that was a very unexpected detour, but I have the old, smaller connector on the new battery with the heat shrink. And let's test that out. This is the old battery with the new connector that won't fit. Hopefully, when you buy one, you'll get one that's the right size. So now let's test this out. Plug it into the new battery. And I'm gonna test it first before doing anything else. Well, it looks like, oh, it's powering on. Excellent. All right, well, the new battery works. So let's turn it off. Bye-bye. And this is still kind of sticky here, so I'm just gonna trust that the stickiness on that foam is good enough. And I'm just gonna stick the battery just kind of like the way, same as the old one was. Press it down on there without breaking any circuit boards or anything. And carefully make sure none of the cables or wires get trapped anywhere. You don't want to squish them or cut anything. And then put the 4 screws back in. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, nice and tight. We'll test it one more time. Welcome, and everything works. And then we'll do one more test and try to charge the new battery, make sure that it still charges. As before, I'm using the original cable, the fake USB-C cable that it came with. All right, there you have it. Now this camera should live on and take lots of cool photos. So hopefully when you buy your new battery, the replacement battery, you get the right kind of connector, because that was a little bit of a pain to have to clip and then solder these really delicate wires. That is not an easy job. Or really, the whole camera only costs about $20, so you could just buy a new camera, or maybe a better camera, because the quality of the pictures of this are not that great. Anyway, thanks for watching, and let me know if this helped you fix your toy camera.